Hey, women's basketball fans, welcome to this live bonus episode of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. And once again, we are talking Aces, New York Liberty. We know that the New York Liberty got the win in Las Vegas in the Commissioner's Cup, bringing home the first ever title of any kind to the New York Liberty, at least. And it was a pretty interesting game. It didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. Certainly not offensively. I should say it did and it didn't. So I want to preview tonight's game. We're also going to do a little bit of a recap of the Commissioner's Cup, but I think it's wild that, hey, RC Talks, let's go. What's up, Greg? The Liberty are just a better team. We're going to talk about it. But can y'all believe? I know it's been a minute since we live streamed. So glad to have you here. But can y'all believe that one of the biggest stories going into tonight is Shoegate? I don't know. Are we calling it Shoegate? There's been a few really creative names for those just catching up. New York Liberty guard Sabrina Ionescu tweeted out earlier today that her shoes, her Sabrina ones, were stolen. And I mean, I don't think she used the word stolen, but basically they were misplaced, should we say? You know, she tweeted out that not only does she not have her own Sabrina ones, she had a really nice looking black pair, and then the Oregon colorways, she wore those in the Commissioner's Cup for the championship. I remember recognizing that. But she talked about the insoles being important to her, and her shoes are just gone. They're missing as of the time about an hour ago. We heard from the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty in the media availability. But I mean, as of that media availability, I mean, Sandy Brondello was asked about it, and she said that Sabrina does have a pair of shoes. She noted that they're a different color, so we will see another colorway for the Sabrina ones. We saw the Oregon green and yellow, and then this really nice black with gray and a little gold as well. But this is, I was looking for the tweet at, let's see, about 5 hours ago, 2:28 p.m. Central Time. Never thought I would get my shoes stolen. Oh, she did use stolen. My shoes stolen from an opposing arena. Ellipse. ... Please just bring me back my insoles. Kind of like crying emoji. RIP to my Sabrina ones. And then she has the picture of the Sabrina ones. Again, really love these. And shout out to Christina Williams, who did a great job kind of doing further reporting. But Sabrina saying that the Liberty are thinking, and Sabrina is thinking, either right after the Commissioner's Cup or sometime during shoot around, presumably someone who was not supposed to be in the room where all the equipment was, got into that room. Christina also reporting that only a handful of people had access to that room. So I really hope that this doesn't become too big of an issue, whether on social media or certainly in the game. So let's talk about the game. So we can let Shoegate go. Again, Sandy Brondello saying Sabrina will have her shoes. She does not have her insoles, and no real update on where her property might be. So, yeah, her shoes went missing, RC Talks. It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. Now she's going to come out and drop 40. Salute Sabrina. Her game is fire. Yeah, let's kind of talk about Sabrina Ionescu. Let's talk about Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, and Kelsey Plum. That Mod Podge of players, I think arguably you can toss in, of course, Courtney Vandersloot here, Jonquel Jones there, Chelsea Gray, you know, but those are the core four from this matchup for me. And why am I saying that? Because for the New York Liberty, Sabrina is the present / future, and Brianna Stewart is the now. For the Las Vegas Aces, they don't always need Kelsey Plum to necessarily drop 40, but Kelsey being integrated is extremely important. You may remember earlier in the season, Kelsey Plum was away from the team, and the Aces talked a lot about having to have Jackie Young just be that energy, because Kelsey Plum is an energy source for the Las Vegas Aces. And of course, Asia Wilson is their star. It's Asia Wilson's team. Bill Laimbeer made it very clear to say that. So, when we look at how those cluster of players have been performing, especially in the matchups here. I mean, I said on Gotta Get Up, I was a little hyperbolic, just a scotch, but I said that the Aces would have a really good chance if Jackie Young hit a triple-double. She didn't hit a triple-double. She had 4 rebounds overall, just 1 assist, and we'll talk about assists later, but 16 points overall. Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray with 15. This is in the Commissioner's Cup game. But we talked about it also on, I guess, an episode or 2 of Gotta Get Up, that Kelsey Plum really got kind of tossed around on her defensive assignments, but so did all of Las Vegas. And so I'm very curious to see what they deploy. I think their defense was certainly better in the Commissioner's Cup game. And that goes to, Benai Jelani, we knew it was going to be she was going to be working on the defensive side. She drops 2 points for the New York Liberty. Stewie had 13. Jonquel Jones with 16 and 15 rebounds is your MVP of the Commissioner's Cup. Sab had 12 points, and those points came later in the game, much later in the game. And it was, so I called out Jackie Young for a triple-double, and Maureen Johannes, I didn't say she needed a triple-double, but I also said she was going to be important for the Commissioner's Cup game. She had 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And so Stewie held to 13. That's pretty low for Breanna Stewart. Going back up to the Aces, Asia Wilson had 9 points. 9 points. She had 5 rebounds overall, no assists. No assists. And we didn't speak specifically about the defense that the Liberty were going to play in our Commissioner's Cup preview, which got uploaded really late on YouTube. I'm not sure what was happening there. So if you listen on audio, you got it. But anyway, apologies for that. But yeah, when I was at practice for the New York Liberty, I remember seeing that they're scrimmaging, and it's one of those scrimmages where they were going full court for a decent amount of time at practice, but then Sandy Brandella would interrupt them. And one of the times she interrupted, and it was right after this really great offensive set. The ball was moving like the Liberty won. Everyone was feeling good and clapping, and Sandy Brandella blows the whistle and stops practice. And she stopped practice and she said, nope, you go back there, you go back there. She wanted everyone to go back to their spots at exactly where they were when the ball was inbounded. And that showed me that the New York Liberty, especially going into games against Chicago and the Aces, were focused on picking up at the latest at half court. So they were playing a suffocating defense, and Becky Hammon talked about it. She talked about it. Again, Chelsea Gray did have 15 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, serviceable, but not what we're necessarily used to. And the New York Liberty really dialed down defensively. It was also interesting to hear Becky Hammon, and she said this earlier today, that she felt like her team was just tired. We kind of talked about that on Gotta Get Up, but she talked about the shots in the Commissioner's Cup game hitting front iron. And to her, that just indicated legs are tight, hammies are tight, they need rest. And she told me that she told media that she locked the players out of the gym. She locked players out of the gym. Key cards wouldn't work because that's how serious she took rest, and that she needed her team to physically be away from basketball. Now, there was one player that said she's like, oh no, I needed to shoot. We'll talk about who that was, but I want to get to some of the questions that have been coming in. So Darius, hey Darius, thanks so much. Definitely agree that Sab is likely going to have a big night tonight. Listen, we do know Sabrina Ionescu has some of that. I don't know if you want to call it Kobe Bryant. I mean, obviously she's very close with the Bryant family. You want to call it some MJ swag, but yeah, Sabrina Ionescu, she's not going to say a lot, but she will get down on the court. I just hope that those insoles, she'll have to break in, so to speak, another pair of shoes and without insoles. And this is someone who was sidelined with a hamstring injury earlier in the season. And we know that she's had ankle issues. So I just hope it doesn't, again, become a big story. If it's a big story on the positive side, I think most of us will take it, right? The drama. What's tea? Give us more tea. I just don't want it to be a tragically big story. Okay. So let's just send out good vibes, regardless of who you root for. Let's just send out good vibes. All right, here we go. Anthony, can New York continue to exploit KP on defense, forcing the Bay matchup there has given the Aces fits? I love this question. And that certainly is going to be a part of the game plan. I can tell you that for sure. Kelsey Plum has been frustrated. She was frustrated. I can tell you, I talked to her after the August 6th game for that super team story that I wrote for CBS Sports. And she would say things like, well, setting aside today's performance, I think we're really great at da 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 da. You could tell I was still kind of eating at her. And then we haven't really heard from her, at least in media availabilities, I should say, virtual media availabilities. So I do think K Plum is going to come in focused. I do think she's going to have to, though, figure out how to exude her energy on the defensive side, because New York, hey, listen, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Of course, I think New York is going to continue to do that. The question for New York is if and how they can adjust to any adjustments that Kelsey Plum makes and that the Aces make overall. Elena Coates activated once again, a player that talked to media today and said that the focus has been defense, the focus has been rebounding, because that is also where the aces of all teams got exposed. Points in the paint were 18 to 28 in favor of the Aces, actually, in this game. But if you look at the rebounding, 28 to 49 in team stats. Assists, 14 for the Aces, 20 assists overall for the New York Liberty. Rebounds. It just, again, completely dominant performance. And so all of that, I think, fits into how the Aces want to play defensively. And I believe it was Chelsea and I think Jackie after the game. Chelsea and Jackie were saying, we as guards need to do a better job because the team rebounds were lopsided. And the guards know, and that includes Kelsey Plum, that they're going to have to do better defensively. So that's going to take energy. And so what are the Aces going to do to make sure, in my opinion, that K Plum is not getting overworked defensively, so that she's not open offensively? I don't know what the answer to that is, but maybe if players like Jackie Young really focus on the defensive side and maybe take on a little bit more, then they can open up at least getting more help for Kelsey Plum. Who do you think will have a big night for the Liberty? This is a question from Darius. You know what? I think we've seen, obviously, Jonquel Jones and Marine Johannes cook. We have seen Sabrina Ionescu do pretty well in this matchup. Stewie's been a little quiet, and I think the Aces will take that. I'm going to say Sloot. I'm going with Courtney Vandersloot. I think that we're going to see some things change defensively for the Aces, and I wonder if and how that can open up things for players like a Sloot. I think also Stewie kind of has to have a big game. I know that's kind of a weird it's a weird answer in some ways because Stewie almost always has to have a good game, but I'm very curious to see what New York is able to do, what adjustments that they're making to try and get Brianna Stewart more involved. Is that even possible given all of the different considerations and again how Vegas is going to play? So this is the reason I love that they're going back to back. The reason that I love that including the Commissioner's Cup, they'll play each other 5 times in the regular season is that they can practice some things. The Commissioner's Cup is over and done with. This, of course, counts for the record. And if you listen to the New York Liberty, they started saying this after the Chicago game, and now they're keeping up with the trend of saying they still want to try for home court advantage. So not only winning a game against the Aces, but really trying to win out overall, that can be massive. So there's a few things at play here for the New York Liberty. And when you say big game, I really am thinking more so now, at least, I'm thinking more so of who can have a big game as a leader, who is going to show us that they are willing and able to do whatever is necessary to get the team to win. And that's where I give Stewie the edge. But Vandersloot also has that championship pedigree and is more than capable of going off in scoring if that's what's needed. If that's what's needed for New York. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out. I like that question. Yes, Vandersloot is one of the assist goddess there, really. Yeah. Courtney Vandersloot, I think I want to see what Sluty does in this game. Did I cover the Tuesday's Commissioner Cup final? Because I did. So I was not in Vegas. I covered it remotely, and then I did a hit for CBS Sports immediately following the game. I was hoping to be there, but needed to stay a little closer to home for that one. All right. The Liberty held the Aces to under 65 points 2 times. That's never happened before in Coach Hammond's tenure until the last 2 weeks. And you hear Becky Hammond talking about it. I've talked about it before. I've talked about it with players that, these are 2 very well coached teams. These 2 coaches also know each other. So there's a lot of, again, it's like a chess match. It's this beautiful chess match. And so there's a little bit of that rivalry, but also that pride that starts to seep in and come in. And I think that's just going to make for a really textured game. I didn't think we were going to get such a lopsided game at the Commissioner's Cup. So I don't know, but I love looking at the lead tracker. The Aces did get something going on the back end of the second quarter and then into the third. And if they can expand, right, when they're able to dominate the game a little bit more and keep it close, anything can happen. Yeah, Ionescu plays better under pressure. Absolutely love that. Hey, Jasmine. Jasmine, I saw that you asked a question. I want to get to that question as well. I think I kind of talked about it because you were asking about X factors. I love that. But thanks for stopping in. Darius says hello. If Asia Wilson doesn't step up, then this game will be over. And I like that I saw that comment because I was talking about Stewie. Obviously, this is Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, but we're talking about the Aces too. And I think you're right. Remember, I was saying that there's just like a leadership quality where you need to see if players can find another gear and start getting things done. I think it's going to be, if I'm being honest, it's going to be really tough for Stewie or Asia Wilson to step into that role because these 2 teams are really good defensively. And you have to think that Stewie and Asia are at the top of the scouting list when it comes to disrupting these players. You have to think because they are the heartbeat of their team right now. And so maybe I guess I'll put it this way. If Wilson or Stewart, between those 2, whoever is able to find ways alongside their team to get their game going that will be the team that wins this game. Because for me, that means that everyone else has really bought all in to finding ways to feed Stewie, to feed Wilson. And sometimes you have to do that as well. You have to know how to win that way as well, because you're always going to feed the hot hand. And when you have superstars like Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart on your team, if their hand is hot, you give them the ball, and everyone else do everything in your power to get them the ball. It's kind of like when you're an outfielder or any fielder and you're trying to get your pitcher a no-hitter, right? You do whatever it takes to get the no-hitter. And if either one of these players, if either one of these MVPs is in no-hit territory, feed them the ball. Feed them the ball. That's what I want to see. If Kelsey comes out jacking up shots tonight, I'm screaming. Listen, I teased this earlier in the stream. I don't know if Kelsey Plum found her way into the gym. I was talking earlier about Becky Hammond. She locked the door. You can't come in. But there is one player that confirmed that she's like, oh no, I shot. I went to shoot. And so this, Jasmine, to your question that I saw you that came through on Twitter or X. I'm calling it Twitter. I don't know. Is Mama calling Clay? I'm gonna call him Clay. Anyway, an X factor for the Aces might be AC. Alicia Clark talked to media and she said, listen, I needed to shoot. I needed touches. She said, I texted Becky and I told her I needed touches. I get where Becky Hammond was coming. She feels her team is fatigued. She feels her team is pulling up short on their shots, which just, you got to feed the legs. And they needed some rest. They needed to get off of their feet. For some of those players, Asia Wilson probably chief among them. That makes sense. But for AC, let me see. I don't remember her stats off the top of my head, but she wants to contribute more, and she can. I mean, she had 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. So if AC is not feeling it, if she's not feeling the touch, she's not in that, in syncopation, then I want to see her get more shots up, get that rhythm going. And again, AC is one of those players like Benajelani, they're having to put in overtime defensively in this matchup. So yeah, maybe one of those defensive first players that these two teams rely on so much, if they can, similarly to what I was talking about their MVP, can they get some support? Can these two find another gear where they're still locked down defensively and get their scoring touch? Because again, Alicia Clark had 4 points, but Nigelini had 2. And those were free throws. She didn't shoot any field goals, Benajelani. She went 2 for 2 from the line, and AC, she went 2 for 8. So at least AC was shooting. Benajelani's not even getting shots. Ooh, that might be something that we have to look at. Do you think Sandy will try to work in Hanju tonight? I do not, Amy Williams. I do not think that she will try to work in Han. I think if we see Han tonight, it's a lopsided game and likely the Liberty behind. Hanju. I don't really understand Hanju yet for this Liberty team. Either what they are now or what they're trying to be. I've never really been high on Hanju. I've said that before. I talk about it a lot with the beat writers. And, quite honestly, we're not seeing enough of her in games to prove me wrong. I just haven't seen enough. I'm not completely convinced. Obviously, the size is fantastic. I will say that her confidence, at least going off of last season. Again, she's been with the national team a lot and having to go back to China. So, it's been sporadic, her stretch this season. But she started getting into a rhythm, and obviously she's a crowd favorite. So I'm sure people are like, tomatoes. But I don't know. I need to see a lot more from Hanju before I would commit her to this New York Liberty franchise, and certainly before I would have throw her in the water against the Las Vegas Aces. But I don't know. Do you experiment early? My gut is no. Both of these coaches are comfortable being really short on the bench. So let's see what happens. Darius says, not counting on the cup, the series is tied at 1 apiece. A Liberty win gives them the lead. That is correct. So on the graphic for this live stream, I just included all of their matchups, especially because the Commissioner's Cup is smack dab in the middle of this stretch of what is it, 4 of the 5 games being in August alone. So, but you're right. The team that wins this game tonight has command of the regular season record or head to head. Speaking of coaches, do you think Coach Brundello should be considered for Coach of the Year? Ooh, I like this question. Yeah, I like this question. I think she should be considered. I think especially the way the narrative went about how the Liberty were overrated, or, I think maybe I should say it this way. If anything's going to work against her, it depends on how many people believe that the Liberty were a super team to start the season and that then they were a super team that was overrated or a super team that was underperforming, because that narrative existed. I never bought into it, but that narrative existed. So if you think that this was a team that was stacked and that they underperformed in the first half of the year, then I'm inclined to believe that that would have voters go in another direction. I do think that it is extremely difficult, and Sandy does this masterfully and always has. It is a skill to have so many superstars on your team and also young promising players, and find a way to coach them all. Sandy, I do think, is a great coach, and she does have a great group of very unique players that she gets to work with. And again, we haven't even seen all of them. Hanju, Nyara Sabali. So I think she should be considered. I do think that for me, it's probably LT as of right now. But Dallas, has been a little bit of a different team as of late, or I should say, I know that they didn't have as strong of a start out of the All break as such as the New York Liberty. Well, no one's been hotter than the New York Liberty since the All-Star break. So, yeah, I think she should be probably in the top. Well, there's 12 teams. I'd say like top 5 for sure. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Hope to see more Dolson tonight. Okay, so we talked about this on the episode previewing the Commissioner's Cup, and I, for one, agree with you here, because I do think getting a more healthy Steph Dolson integrated into this New York Liberty roster is gonna help, because Steph Dolson can help JJ and Stewie defensively. You know, she's I think liability is a little harsh. I don't know that she's a liability offensively. We do know that Dolson can score. She's not gonna necessarily, and her game isn't to be a shoot first kind of perimeter player. She can shoot from 3. So, but I think you're right. If only for getting that offense to move. We know Steph Dolson is such a great screener. And she was asked about it again and kind of made a joke. The only reason I come here is to talk about Marina Johannes, but she is also, and I got to talk to Steph about this, like, she has played a coaching role since her injury, and it is something that she's been thinking about. And so she had an opportunity to kind of redirect her energy and her passion from a basketball standpoint. And, we talked to her a little bit last week in New York about how she hopes to continue to do that through communication and kind of harnessing that. And she felt that even though she was injured, it wasn't anything that changed as far as how she communicated with her teammates, but it did give her a time to see the game at kind of a different pace, because she is not actively having to sub in. So that was interesting. Marino Johannes got that flamethrower of a shooting arm. Listen, another 17-point performance from Marino Johannes. I will take it. Okay. I will absolutely take that. I would be in here screaming at the top of my lungs. I love it. And what I loved about Marine Johannes post game, they got the goggles, they had the Commissioner's Cup trophy sitting with them. And, you know, Marine just talked about how she was having fun. She knew it was going to be a big moment. And if you listen to our Tuesday episode of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans brought to you by Black Rosie Media, then you heard Brian Florentin, who's my usual co-host. Brian on vacation. He's actually reading this book here, the one I have. There it goes. Over here by Kate Fagan. Anyway, he talked about Marine loves these kinds of like big show games. Went off against Chicago, money's on the line. It's a Commissioner's Cup game. Brian was like, yeah, these are the kinds of games that Marine Johannes likes to play. And she was in the zone. She was having fun. Yeah, more Marine Johannes. So now this is, I gotta say, Marine Johannes has to be a starter and more time on the court. I will agree with the last part. I don't think Marine Johannes has to be a starter. Not right now. I think Marine is getting a lot better at distribution. That being said, really in the last couple of weeks, she hasn't been asked to focus on distribution. She's been asked to focus on taking her shot. So unless you're going to bump Sabrina Ionescu to the 1 and have her as the shooting guard, I don't think Marine Johannes has to start. I like Courtney Vandersloot starting and then having Sabrina as your 2 guard. If and when Marine Johannes gets more comfortable at the point guard and she can thrive in that, and or the New York Liberty then are benefiting greatly from having both her and Sabrina on the court, then I would say yes. But Marine Johannes has not showed the comfort level just yet to be able to play the 1. Because if she can play the 1, to me, that's dangerous. That is so dangerous for this team. Can she facilitate? Absolutely. She gets a little fancy, and the discipline and the kind of how do I want to say this? There's a different approach to the 1, even if you are going to be flashy. And Marine Johannes has the flashy part of it, the Tisha Penicheiro, Becky Hammond type passes. The taking command, the being I don't want to say authoritative, but being a floor general. The communication, the confidence to decision make. And not just for herself, but for the rest of the team. That's where I need to see more from Marine if she's going to start on this Liberty team. And I hear people saying all the time, oh, if she was on any of the other WNBA teams, she'd be a starter. Not unless they need a 2 guard, because you lose a versatile floor general in Marine Johannes, but you gain massive creativity. But I gotta disagree if anyone thinks that Marine Johannes right now should be a starter. Do I agree that she should get more minutes? Absolutely. But I don't see the Liberty, I mean, and this is, we talked about this on the show. Like, is this going to be a problem down the line? The New York Liberty know that Stewie can also bring the ball up. We talked about CP3 being a 1, and how she can be a point guard. And Becky Hammond talked about how they miss that. They miss another facilitator. They miss another point guard when CP3, Candace Parker, is not in the lineup. We know that Brianna Stewart can play that role should she have to. But I guess if you want Marine to start, or if you want her to have more time, then maybe you do have Stewie run the point a little bit more, and then you have Sab and Johannes just being able to shoot on the wing. That being said, you can't do that. You can't do that against the Aces. I don't think so. I wouldn't try it. So I don't know, maybe unpopular opinion. I probably give you 2 about Hanju and now about Marine Johannes. Want her to get more minutes. Don't think she should start, at least not on this team. Marine Johannes making a show almost every game. Hope tonight we'll see something special from her again. Agree with that. Absolutely. She's Marine the magician. It's magic. It is absolute pure magic. I forget how Becky Hammond said it, but someone asked her, Marina Johanna went off 17 points, um, something about defense. And she's like, did you see those shots she was taking? She said something like, I don't have a defense for that. Chalk it up, clap it up, good shot. Damn. When Becky Hammond's saying, I don't have a defensive scheme for that. I mean, what do? You just congratulate her. That's it. Marine has that quick trigger shot from deep that Coach Hammond herself had and noted she couldn't. Exactly, Darius. I hadn't gotten to this comment yet, but exactly. That's exactly what Becky Hammond said. It was hilarious. It was so hilarious. She's marvelous. It is art. It is so beautiful. It is this beautiful European flair that we haven't seen, in my opinion, since Tisha Penicheiro or Becky Hammond. I mean, Sue Bird had it, but she's, in my opinion, she was a different type of guard than Tisha or Becky, for me, at least. I mean, Chelsea Gray, also a different guard for me than Tisha or Becky. But yeah, Chelsea Gray, the point guard, the point guard. But the point guard hasn't been able to get into a flow in these last two games against the New York Liberty. So how is Chelsea Gray gonna change things a little bit? Okay, this is interesting. I agree with you, Damien. And had I been there, I was planning to be there, I had to just change some things up. I would have given my vote to Marine Johannes. I'm not mad JJ won. Again, 16 points, 15 rebounds. That's insane. Woo! I was like, wow, yeah, that's crazy town. So again, I'm not mad JJ won it, but I really lean into the valuable part of MVP. Valuable. And I mean, both. As someone who loves defense, I'm really not about to sit here and argue against JJ not doing it. I probably still would have voted for Marine Johannes just because why not? Excuse me. Dribbled penetration from Vegas has been met with two on the ball late peel switch from New York, usually sagging off Stokes or AC. Yes, I think correct. I think one or both of them need to make shots to punish this defense. Anthony, yes. And I did a little clip on Shorts to talk a little bit more about this because Brian, Misha, and I talked about that, especially the fact of sagging off of Stokes or AC. I already told you AC felt she needed touches. AC got into the gym, even though the coach gave a hard no to gym time. AC got to the gym. So I do think that AC knows this. I mean, we all know it. We've seen it. We talked about that with Stokes as well. I love Kia Stokes on the defensive side. As a rebounder, she is fluid. She, more often than not, is not going to get you into some serious foul trouble. She's not overly aggressive. I think she plays her positioning very, very well. The issue that I've had with Kia Stokes, because I wanted to see more from Stokes when she was on the New York Liberty. The issue that I had with Stokes is that, especially with that size, I have talked about this a lot of times. If I had her shoulders, I would just be knocking people out of the way all the time for fun. Whatever it is, she's not what I would say an aggressive player. I think she has impeccable timing. She reads things very well on the defensive side, and she's spry. She's got like spring. She's literally kind of bouncing up at times. She's just so spry. She moves very well. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why, but that has never really translated to her offensive game. Bill Laimbeer, I guess it was a couple of years ago, right? Kind of pressing her to take more three-pointers. She can shoot if absolutely necessary. And hey, maybe we're at a point in time where it's not super duper necessary, but if the Aces want to hold on to first and they want to really start being battle tested for this year's playoff run, they might have to start asking more of Stokes offensively. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. We need some The depth on my Aces bench. I'm not sure that Elena Coates and Kayla George are going to be that. Very interesting. I'm a little befuddled by both the Aces and the Liberty bench. And I remember Jackie Powell and I were talking also with Lucas, who's such an amazing basketball mind. But we were all talking, and I forget now if Jackie said she felt that the Aces bench was deeper or the Liberty bench was deeper. Well, if we go by again the last game, between Kayla Thornton and Maureen Johannes, what did they have? Almost 30 points? Something crazy? Like Maureen Johannes shot at or better than the entire Aces team from three. So when you talk about quote unquote better bench, are we talking about more depth to the team? The bench overall being deep, or one or two players that happen to be bench players that give you significant minutes and give you significant numbers. That last one, that's what Dearica Hamby. I'm just going to pause so that y'all can feel however you feel about that situation. Ashe. That's what that's what Dearica Hamby had been for the Aces. Dearica Hamby's not on the team. Candace Parker is hurt. Kia Stokes, even if she was coming off the bench, is not that player, as I have already discussed. So, is that a deep bench? Is it an effective bench? No Raquana Williams. That's important. No Raquana Williams. So then you look over to the New York Liberty. But in a game like this, realistically, what bench players are seeing time? Kayla Thornton, Maureen Johannes. Jocelyn Willoughby saw 4 minutes, had 3 points in 4 minutes. Steph Dolson played 3 minutes, and Niara Sabali played 1:47. So, I don't know. Jones was great in the cup. Impressive seeing her play better in Dolson's absence, but now that Dolson is back, the Liberty has a better defense than that they missed for so long. I love this because you know what? JJ starting to take off, but no Dolson. Dolson was great for the Liberty to start off, but JJ coming back from injury. So now, yeah, we're starting to see what the vision was, right, for this New York Liberty squad. I love that. So Coach White for Coach of the Year. Coach White, LT. I feel like people are going to give Becky Hammond some looks for how the Aces started, and they matched that Comets and Sparks record for most wins through 30 games, 27, right? And Sandy. I said top 5, but yeah, I was going to say 4, but I don't know. Yeah. Those are probably my top 4. Tanisha Wright, I think maybe you can toss in there. I haven't taken a look at where Atlanta is in the last week or so. But yeah, that's probably my 5. That's probably my top 5. RC Talks, I would have given Johannes MVP because she really helped consistently correct the Liberty get separation repeatedly and quickly and early. So yeah, she probably would have had my vote. But again, not mad at JJ. I think you're fine either way. Ooh, it's almost tip off. We gotta wrap up here. Liberty does not need to defend as much if they have great 3-point shooting in the court and Johannes. You know, this is interesting because I think the reason that the Liberty have gotten better since Sandy took over, they still have some of that Walt Hopkins mentality of shooting 3-pointers, but they were just shooting the crap out of the ball and didn't have the skill, quite honestly, in my opinion, to defend at an elite level. Now the Liberty can do both. So I'm never going to say you don't have to play defense. I'm never going to say that. But I hear what you're saying. And it definitely helps that they, even if they aren't playing great defense, can at least theoretically get themselves back into a game. I love that. Underrated 3-point shot for Dolson. I think so. And, you know, she's comfortable taking it. She just doesn't necessarily need to shoot it. Not on this team. Not consistently. So, but I think you're right. I understand that Jonquel Jones double-double was absolutely big time, so she also deserved that. It's all like, honestly, if I could, like, break it, Mean Girl style, I'm honestly not mad. If I had to venture to guess, neither one of them was gonna be mad if the other won it. I can completely understand why Jonquel Jones got it. Put some respect on her name, and also it just goes to show for me that she was rewarded for the work that she's been putting in for the Liberty since the All Star break. Um, Rebounds and defense were helpful to keeping the Liberty. Again, you can make the argument either way. As someone who loves defense, I don't know. I still thought MJ it was just exciting for a game like that. And again, knowing that you don't always get that, maybe that's what it is. I've almost taken for granted double doubles. How many double doubles does she have? Something like 11, I think. Um, I almost took for granted JJ's double double. So I'm totally not mad. I could see it either way. Yes, Marine had that clutch mindset and still has to have it. You aren't going to get an argument from me. Safe to say Jonquel Jones is back. The real Jonquel Jones has stood up. I love that. I love that. Okay. Hey, Erga, do you think that the Liberty make a statement in the playoffs? I think they have a lot of potential. Again, they're playing right now to get the number one seed, thinking about the playoffs, knowing that if they focus on the ability to have home court advantage at Barclays, um, that is something that they really want. So I love that they already have that mentality of, listen, what we do now is preparing us for the playoffs. And the first thing that we can control is if we're the number one seed. Everything else is still up in the air. You don't know how many other teams or what other teams are going to why do I keep wanting to say qualify? I'm like, that's not what we say in basketball. That are going to clinch. Thank you. That are going to clinch a playoff spot. We don't know what the other teams are. I mean, we can have a guess, but nothing is set in stone. The only thing that the Liberty can control right now is preparing for the playoffs. And for them, the tangible thing is to make a run for first top seed. And that's why this game is massive. So yeah. How can Asia put more points up to get tonight against the Liberty defense? She's got to, I almost think it's, again, what her team is going to have to do to help open up the floor for her. So making sure KP and Jackie are cutting. If for Jackie, I think she needs to be, playing inside, outside, and stretching the floor by being able to shoot. And then KP and Jackie also need to make sure that they are feeding Asia the ball at the right time. She's going to get double teamed right away. So you almost have to give her the ball and then get it right back and then try to see if just by doing that for a few times, you can open up the defense. I think, what were turnovers? What were the turnover? The Liberty, I know I was not impressed with the turnovers, and I thought it was going to be a little bit of an issue. Yeah, New York Liberty had 17 turnovers, so it's not like the Aces are getting turned over, so to speak. The Liberty are, and that's something that if the Aces shots start to fall, 17 turnovers, or excuse me, yeah, 18 turnovers. But the Aces only scored 9 points off of 18 turnovers. I don't think that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly tonight or really ever again. The defense held Asia. Oh my goodness. Got a family thing happening, of course. Anyway, the Liberty defense held Asia Wilson to 9 points in their last two meetings. Thoughts? Defense is important. Defense is important. Those are my thoughts. Yeah. Thanks so much, Amy. Enjoy the game. I know we're running over. It was 11 double doubles. I thought so. I couldn't remember if we were above that number or not. We know what happens when you give MJ an MVP trophy. Poor trophy. All right, folks, we ran a little bit over time, so it's time to watch the game. But thanks so much for joining me. Thank you for your questions and comments. We're going to have to do this again. But stay tuned either on YouTube or on social media. Follow Black Rosie Media for the updates. And I'm going to see why my family keeps blowing up my phone. Thank you. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. Stay safe out in those streets and enjoy the game. I'll catch you next time. Bye.